Are you ready for a career upgrade? One where you are valued and respected for your expertise, where you get to use your strengths every day, where you're doing work that matters, where you have healthy boundaries, and where you're paid really freaking well. And not only that, but you get to use your privilege to open doors and support others in their pursuit of their own upgraded careers. Well, if that sounds good, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Nicole Case, and after a decades-long career in corporate HR, I'm sharing my behind-the-scenes insider knowledge on how you can upgrade your own career and succeed in this wild corporate world. Each episode will have practical, actionable takeaways that you'll be able to implement right away with some healthy doses of encouragement and maybe a kick in the pants or two. Plus, you'll hear from other amazing women who have upgraded their own careers on their terms. So pour yourself a favorite beverage and let's dive into today's episode. I am so excited to introduce to you today's guest. She is one of my friends, someone that I admire so much and that I look up to. It's Dr. Susan Lovell. Dr. Susan Lovell, the Thrive Architect, teaches busy women, professionals, and entrepreneurs how to flourish all day by mastering their energy, weight, and hormones. She is the founder of Premier Wellness, a comprehensive lifestyle health company based in Raleigh, North Carolina, and serving clients nationally. She has been a professional ballet dancer for 17 years and then an award-winning plastic surgeon for over 2 decades. Dr. Susan knows what it's like to beat up your body and your mind into submission to achieve a certain look. In fact, the physical, mental, and emotional abuse she heaped on her own body during those years led to the life-threatening health issue she later developed, and it was only through a personalized, holistic approach that she healed herself. Now, Dr. Susan uses her additional expertise in lifestyle medicine to help others heal from the inside out, leading to lasting, powerful change. Bottom line, they improve their health and strengthen their business without sacrificing themselves or their loved ones in the process. Dr. Susan and her team work virtually and in person through speaking, workshops, courses, and retreats. And her corporate programs impact innovative companies such as Activision and Blackline. Dr. Susan has been featured on The Doctors, the docuseries Exhausted, Lifetime TV, The Huffington Post, Forbes, Training Magazine, No Women, Good Morning Washington, and Good Day Charlotte. Her book, Thrive, The 5-Week Guide to Mastering Your Energy at Any Age, is available on Amazon. And I am so excited to have her here on the podcast today, talking to all of us about how to manage our energy and our hormones. So without further ado, let's listen to that interview. Welcome back to the Upgraded Career Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Case, and today I am joined by someone who is so dear to me, Dr. Susan Lovell. I am so excited that you are finally coming on the show. I shared with Dr. Susan the other week that when I had this idea for my podcast, I had made a list of all these amazing, fabulous women in my life that I wanted to interview, and she was on that short list. And today she is going to be talking to us about something that I know I struggle with personally. A lot of my clients struggle with this, and it is our health and our energy. And I don't know about you all, but I am driving headfirst into my 40s right now, and things are changing, things are happening, and it's getting tough out there. It's tough out there for us. And Dr. Susan is going to talk to us all about, again, navigating this period of our lives and energy and hormones and weight and all of these things. So I am so excited, Dr. Susan, that you are here today.
I am so excited to be here, Nicole. Thank you so much.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So first you have to tell us more about your own personal just career journey. I just think your story is just so fascinating. I'm just so excited for everyone to hear it.
Well, I look at it as if I'm on my third career, essentially. So it really started, believe it or not, when I was 6 years old. I'm not going to make this too long. 6 years old, I knew I wanted to be a doctor because I loved my pediatrician. And I told him at 6 that I was going to be a doctor. And 20 something years later, he actually wrote a letter for me to say that, yeah, way back when she was 6, this is what she wanted. I had it had a lot to do with me getting into medical school.
Wow.
So got into medical school and fell into plastic surgery because, and it makes a lot of sense now, because I could make change
Mm.
in somebody. They came in one way, boom, you did something and they went out the other. And it was so different from what I saw internal medicine or family medicine to be, where people came in week after month with the same thing going on. You
Mhm.
gave them a pill, they went out, they came back the next month, nothing changed. And so the dichotomy between those 2 professions made me choose plastic.
Got it.
And that's what I did for the next 22 years. And actually, I forgot my big career in between. Got all that yes.
Yeah, let's back up a minute.
Just back up a little bit.
Just back up just a quick minute,
Right?
because there's something else you did before that that's super
Things that
cool.
I forgot, right? Yeah, so on Saturday mornings, my mom did not like the fact that I was sitting watching cartoons, so she took me to dance class. That led to me eventually becoming a professional ballet dancer, which I did touring the world for about 14 years. How can I forget that? Oh my
Right?
goodness. Then I went to medical school, went into plastics and loved it. And if I could still just do the surgery without all of the other nonsense, I might still do a little bit of it.
Mm.
But essentially, what ended up happening was when I was the solo plastic surgeon, I had moved to Northeast North Carolina, and I was the only plastic surgeon within 50 miles.
Mm.
So you can imagine I was immensely busy,
Yeah.
but it meant that I was in the office all day or surgery all day. Then, because I was the only plastic surgery surgeon, if something happened in the middle of the night, guess who was getting called 2, 3 a.m. in the morning?
Right.
And I was raising my kids. And I did not want them to suffer for my decision to be a plastic surgeon. So I was still the soccer mom and the one going to all the debate meetings and all of the games and everything. So literally I was 24/7. And this is something that I see a lot in women,
Mm.
especially when they have young children and as they're getting older, we just burn ourselves out on both ends till there
Mhm.
is no more candle. It's not,
Right.
that sort of thing. And just briefly, what ended up happening was that I would not stop, and the only way that I did was by being in the intensive care unit once, twice, and then a third time in
Mm.
the space of a year, and that third time was when I said, "Something's gotta change." And the way that I healed was through what I do now, which is lifestyle medicine,
Mm.
looking for the root cause of what's going on rather than saying, like the I saw in medical school years ago, "Have an ill, take a pill."
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. First of all, your career story, I think, is just so interesting and amazing. And I think it's just a great example of we are multifaceted, multi talented, multi passionate human beings, and we are allowed to have different chapters and different seasons of our lives. So we could do a whole podcast episode just on that.
Right.
But I really appreciate you sharing that you personally, as an MD, like, burnt yourself out. We a lot sometimes, like, we put, medical professionals kind of on this pedestal that if, like, of course they know all of course they're gonna be the pinnacle of health, right? Or pinnacle of health, that they're gonna have this really great lifestyle. And, what I'm hearing from you is that they fall into the trap just like everyone else, right? And I love how you shared that, you had it took 3 stints in ICU in order for you to wake up and say something needs to change.
Something needs to
Goodness.
change. Yeah. I remember exactly after the second time when I was so exhausted because by this time you can imagine. And I literally got a couch that I had put into my exam room next to my main exam room because I didn't have the energy to walk down the hall to my regular office.
Mm.
And that's all I did for months. I went from, one exam to the other and sat in the couch in between patients. And that's what I did. It's like, what was I thinking?
Right. Yeah, I have so many clients, and again, myself included in this, that are just like, "I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm trying to do so many things." But it's been giving me pause over at least probably the past year or so for myself around, what is this low energy? What is happening here? Is it just I'm working too hard, that I'm working too many hours, I'm burning the candle at both sticks? Or is this low energy, brain fog, declining work performance, all of these things? When is this more than just you're working too hard, or there's something more happening here?
Right. That's a great question. what I go by is if there's something, if you're exhausted and you've got a good 2, 3 days where you're really resting and you're still exhausted,
Mhm,
then something needs to you need to be investigating something.
mhm,
What the things it could be are just so vast, but the first things we do is we make sure that you're sleeping, and even though you're in the bed for 7 to 9 hours, are you sleeping that time, and are you
mhm,
sleeping well? So that's the very first thing, just check that and make sure. Some of the other things that we don't think about so much are some things like gut health. Do you have food sensitivities? Because those can actually trigger fatigue.
mhm.
And then, of course, hormones, which are such a big thing, especially with women.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes, totally, and I think I shared this with you previously that, like, again, I'm way into my late 30s at this point, and just over the last few years, I'm just like, "Boy, this body is different." I'm gaining weight that I hadn't previously gained, and I'm having a hard time getting it off. I have so many of my clients who come to me, which, we don't wanna be, playing into diet culture in any way, shape, or form here, but I do have clients who come to me who are like, they don't wanna take the next step in their career, they don't wanna upgrade anyway because 'cause they're not feeling comfortable in their bodies. And I feel like it might be again this idea of, we're getting older, things are changing, and our hormones are certainly changing. And I'm seeing, just again, even in myself, just things with myself that are just like, wow, I am tired more often. Wow, I can't have a glass of champagne in the evenings like I used to. Right. So I would love to hear more about the hormone side of things because I think as women, that is something that's often top of mind for us is that, our hormones are jacking up things all over the place throughout our lives, but particularly whenever we start getting older and into this midlife, something else is happening here. So I'd love to hear more. Just can you share just a little bit more about, what's happening as we age with our hormones and how does that impact our bodies?
Absolutely. And the way I put it is, you look at what you could do and how you felt and what you could eat and little you could sleep when you were in your 20s, right? And then you hit that 35 to 40, and so boom, it's almost like it's on a dime, it starts changing.
Yeah.
And the reason for that really is hormones. It really is. And the thing is that especially with women, we have two main hormones that kind of change, progesterone and estrogen. We're usually pretty familiar with those. The problem is that our progesterone actually starts decreasing before our estrogen does. So now even though they're both lower, you've got more of that estrogen going on versus the progesterone. And the estrogen is the one that gives you like a little bit of the brain fog, a little more of
Mhm.
the fatigue. It leads more towards problems with blood sugar. So a lot of different things are related to that imbalance, not so much the fact that they're both low.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So, is there
Huge.
is there anything we can do to prevent this stuff from happening, or is it just like, those of us who have these hormones and we're aging, it's just like this we are just doomed to feel this way? Or is there anything that we can do to kind of prevent some of
Mhm.
this or make it easier, I guess?
Yes, yes. Well, believe it or not, the very first thing that you can do to make it easier is mindset with it,
Okay.
which is all about understanding that, yes, this is a different part of our life. We are changing and it's okay, just really just embrace it. And when you do that, automatically it gets a little bit easier. But once we've got the mindset away, what can we do, physically and things like that? So, the second biggest thing is stress levels. Because if you think about it, stress is cortisol. Cortisol is one of those hormones that just, as you said, jacks everything up. It makes us gain weight. It makes our blood sugar go up. It makes our estrogen levels wonky. It makes testosterone in a woman makes testosterone go up. Lots of different things happen with cortisol. It makes us so that we can't sleep well.
Mhm.
So if anything else, once we get that mindset, the next thing would be to reduce stress levels, and not be stressed about getting older because that's gonna change things as well. So that would be number 2. And then if you're doing all of these things and eating well, and that varies for everyone, what's well for one person is not necessarily the
Uh-huh.
same for another. But if you're doing all of that, getting the sleep, and you're doing all of the things that you possibly can and still struggling, then maybe it's time to start thinking about a little bit of hormonal support.
Mm.
And that's something you would need guidance for.
Yeah, yeah. I will say that anytime somebody says about like hormone replacement therapy or hormone support, that sounds really scary
Mhm.
to me. Um, what can you say about, hormone, support with the hormones? What does that really look like?
Right, right. So essentially, like I said, it should be the last step, not the first. Because most people, if you're doing all of the lifestyle changes
Yeah.
and doing them well, a lot of times you won't need to come to that point. And I'm not making it as if this is such a drastic change
Mhm.
because it's not. And these are things that your body naturally has. But we want to essentially ease our body through this transition till it gets to the point where it has gotten to that new set.
Yeah,
Okay, and that's really what you're trying to do. Just kind of balance things out until your body can do it on its own.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, what I think the biggest thing that stood out for me here was just you sharing that we need to calm down. It sounds like we need to reduce um, the amount of stress in our lives. And for those who are listening to this podcast, we probably have a whole lot of stress in our lives just because, we are driven, we want to succeed, we want to advance, but we also want to have, full lives outside of work as
Mhm.
well. But those full lives outside of work also contribute to stress. So how, any advice for us out there on really reducing the amount of stress in our lives? Any practical tips
Oh,
there?
yeah. Yes. The very first thing that I tell everyone is to have a ritual first thing in the morning, first thing in the evening. So when you get up, how many of you, I know I used to, sometimes I even kind of slip into it. The first thing you do is you pick up your phone and you start scrolling.
Mm,
Whether you're checking email or the weather or whatever it is, you're checking something on that phone. And so already the first thing you're doing is taking life away from you and your internal balance. So instead of that, first thing, 5 minutes, it doesn't take much longer than that. Just maybe meditate or just plan your day with a relaxed way.
mm,
Read whatever you'd like to do, stretch, do a little bit of yoga first thing for you in the morning. So start your day that way, as opposed to the scrolling and going into high cortisol mode first thing. And then the same thing in the evening, so a lot of us, and I know, again, I used to do it myself. I'd be working, working, working on the computer because you got to work till that last minute, right?
mm,
Because else something's going to happen, or watching television or something crazy. Then you just run into bed and you think that you're just going to go to sleep. And whether or not you do, that doesn't mean that you're sleeping well
mm,
during the night. So giving yourself at least 30 minutes, and usually an hour is even better, to just wind down and
mm.
having your own ritual, whether it's reading again or reflecting. Journaling is a great thing. Taking a bath in lavender or chamomile essential oil, things like that. Things that are really gonna start relaxing you and staying away from the blue screens. Mm, that's a huge one.
Yeah, that's tough. I kind of like that. It's almost like bookending your day, bookending your days, right? Like you're starting kind of slow, easing into it. But what I'm hearing is that it doesn't have to be a big, long, drawn out morning
Yeah.
routine. I think that's so popular, right now. I'm hearing a lot about, these really extended, complicated morning routines. And to me, that sounds
Stressful.
stressful, right?
Right.
So I really appreciate that it's like, we do need to ease into our mornings, but it doesn't have to take an hour. And
It does
I don't know anyone out there who has an hour to because if that's the case, then we're all getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I know I personally there's some, morning people out there, and that's great. I am not one of those people.
Right.
So I love that, just even 5 to 10 minutes just to kind of ease into your morning without your phone, without checking other people's agendas, just kind of
Exactly.
really easing into it. I don't think I have a really great morning routine right now, but I like the idea of starting it off with reading a little bit.
Mhm.
I like that idea. And I know it here whenever we're recording this episode, it's getting close. We're springtime here in North Carolina, so the pool will be open soon. And I do often like to go to the pool and read in the morning, but
Ooh.
I don't see why I couldn't do that from bed. I like that. I will say I do have a really great evening routine that I've shared with
Mm,
clients and
mhm,
shared with folks before. It takes me at least an hour, hour and a half to get fully wound down. And one thing I started doing this year is instead of reading a business book in the evening, I've decided I'm going to read a fiction book in the evening. I know. Let's how dare I? But no, I've been looking for other places to use my brain just in a different way, and I've just been finding
mhm.
that reading a fiction book in the evening in bed is a really great way to wind down. And then again, like you said, I'm not looking at a blue screen, looking at a phone or anything like that. I've just been finding that's been a really nice way to wind down.
Exactly, and it's relaxing your soul,
Yeah.
it's the whole body is just letting go, which
Yeah.
is what you need. Yeah,
Yeah,
love
absolutely.
that.
So, Dr. Susan, tell us, like, how are you working with people today to, like, in your day-to-day practice? What does that look like to work with someone like you to help support, whether it's to increase our energy, to lose some of this weight, to balance our hormones? What does that look like to work with someone like you?
Yeah, absolutely. The whole thing that I like is to do things that are personalized. So remember, like I said, we don't want to have an ill take a pill. Same thing with this. I don't want someone to come and say, I want to lose some weight or I don't have any energy. And I say, okay, here's my package. Boom,
Yeah.
just go do this. It's all about, we start with testing and an assessment.
Mhm.
So I get their whole medical history and then we do specific testing, which varies depending on what kind of issues they're having.
Mhm.
We may look at blood sugar, we may look at thyroid function, we may look at, adrenal function. It all depends on what's going on with them. Once we have all that data, then we decide, okay, this is the route that you need to go if
Mhm.
you want to get to this place. And another thing we look at is how fast someone wants to get there. So I know most of us are like, "Yeah, I want it done yesterday." But, if that's not always, as we know, that's not always reasonable or even possible. But if someone wants to get something done in 3 months versus, "No, I'd rather take it really slow and ease into this, and it's okay if it takes me 6 months or even a year
Mhm.
to get to my point," then that's a whole different conversation,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So it's really what we do is customize everyone's journey, which is important
Yeah.
because 'cause we're all different.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's the same, that's the same thing I think, just with the coaching that I do with my clients too, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I've got kind of a workflow and a process, but it's going to be so customized and so specific to each individual's person's goals and kind of where they're coming from and where they want to go. So I think that's a really great point that if you're out there looking for some support from someone like Dr. Susan, to make sure you're seeing that people want to support you on an individual basis and not just a cookie cutter approach. So, okay, so I love this. So, like, what do you have coming up next? What's kind of happening with you? How can we get on the Dr. Susan Lovell train?
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we just finished a lean hormone challenge, which was all about how do we actually activate our hormones for weight loss.
Mm.
And the way I came about that was that I've had programs in the past and still do, which are really based on having someone be able to lose weight, to release weight, because we don't want to get it back. Lose something I didn't get, right? To release
That's
it,
right.
right? And they worked well, but there were still some things. People struggle maybe with being hungry
Mhm.
or, with maybe some of the signs of detoxification. And so I listened to that and put together a program that looked at all four of those. So your appetite, how you were releasing fat from your cells, how you release it from your body. And then the thing that everybody thinks all weight loss is about is how do you actually start burning up the fat in your body? So it's really those 4 sets of hormones that worked, and that's what that hormone activated weight loss was. So we did that over this last 4 days, and there was such a great response that it led us that we're going to be doing a summit coming up in June, and I'm thrilled that you're gonna be part of it. So
Yeah.
it's not gonna be yes, 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 yes. It's not just about, hormone weight loss, but really how do we look at our lives so that we can be the top, at peak performance without sacrificing ourselves, our families, our lives? We want to be able to do them both.
Yeah.
And there's a way, without burning the candle on both ends. Like some of us on this interview have done.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I'm so excited to be joining you in this. Again, like I said, so many of my clients are coming to me, and I'm sure those of you who are listening right now, again, you want to continue to perform well and do really great things in your work life, and you also want to be fully present and
Mm,
healthy and well in,
mm.
outside of work too. So that's so exciting. So if you are listening when this episode is airing, we've this summit is happening very, very soon. And just tell us, where can we find more information about the summit, more information about you and working with you and your team?
Right. It'll be on our site, which is www.premierwellness.com. And Premier is spelled Premiere, premierwellness.com. The information will be there. And if you want to call us directly, our number is 919-925-5910.
We'll put all that in the show
Oh,
notes. It'll all be in the show notes. So if you want to go out and again find out more information about the summit, about again working with Dr. Susan and her team directly, all of that information will be out on our website in the show notes, so you can't miss it.
all right. Right. Hopefully it's the right number, right?
If not, we'll edit it out. We'll edit it out
Sounds
if it's all good. It's all good. Awesome. Well, Dr. Susan Lovell, thank you so much. It's always a joy chatting with you, and just I always learn something new whenever we connect. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, too. Thanks, Nicole.